Hey guys, welcome to Baka Burrito. I'm Devin,
Diego.
And I'm Max.
and on today's episode of Burrito Banter, we have the continuation to last week's episode. This is the shortcomings of the shonen genre. And what we mean by that is last week we talked about what was so great about the shonen genre and why you should watch it and what makes a great shonen. This week we want to talk about the most common pitfalls and shortcomings of shonen as a whole. Do you guys have any specific examples of a show without getting too in detail before we move on that fell short for you?
Um,
I'd have to say for me it
For-
would be Super, if anything.
Dragon Ball Super? Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I'll go into the details of that as we obviously talk
Of
about
course,
each
of
topic.
course. Diego, did you have one?
well, I mean, I have some for like in detail. For,
Okay,
like,
okay.
When we get into the sections, yeah.
I'm very much the same way. But I think a very one that I'm on the record talking about being a pretty lackluster show for me would be Sword Art Online, and
That was Shonen.
yeah, that was
Okay, that's-
definitely yeah, that was definitely Shonen.
It hit all the
Um,
beats.
That is.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that one Shonen. So.
But so we can go ahead and get started. And our first category, as for what a shortcoming entails, will be stereotypes of the genre. Do either of you want to go first, or would you mind if I take
Yeah,
it?
I'll
You can
go
take it.
first. Oh, I was gonna say.
Okay,
Okay,
no, no, go ahead, Max.
I'll go first in that one of the stereotypes I hate in shonen is when a character's trying to be good for the sake of being good. Like it's the one thing that frustrates me the most because no one is like that. There's always everybody has some sort of underlying meaning for why they want to be good. But I hate it when they're just I want to I want to save the world just because it's the right thing to do. No, you have to have a reason. Come on. Or I want to get stronger just for the sake of getting stronger. Like I hate it when like a shonen protagonist just like doesn't have an actual meaning behind what they want to do. And it's like I could see that a little bit in Deku, for instance. Like he wants to be a good person, and obviously it's because he idolizes All Might and everything. That could have easily been taken the wrong way for me if he just wanted to be a good hero, just because he wanted to be a good hero.
Well, Deku is again, like I said last week, I don't think Deku is a stereotype. But
No, he's not.
someone I do think of as a stereotype, but the issue with this one is I feel like he started the stereotype would be like an Aizen.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Aizen for bad for being the sake of being bad.
No, 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 not that. Being like the evil mastermind stereotype, I control everything type of character, and that really caught on after Aizen's
Oh yeah,
arc.
and then Kishi tried to do it with Kaguya. I've been there all along, and it's all
But
been my plan.
the
And
thing
Zetsu
about
have been working.
Kishimoto is he didn't just do it once. He didn't just do it twice. He didn't just do it 3 times. Homeboy hit it with the foursome. He said Obito was like, I am in control of the Akatsuki. And then Madara was like, I'm in control of the Akatsuki. And then Black Zetsu was like, I'm in control of the Akatsuki. And then Kaguya was like, I'm in control of it all. And it's like, bro, come on, really? Although individually I do like 2 of those 4 characters because they were fleshed out. The other 2 were not. They were
Yeah,
just
it just kept because he kept doing it. He kept doing it too long for the sake of.
It's-
Well, I mean, this kind of goes into almost that writing standard alone hits almost every single category when it comes to the stereotypes of the genre, the
Yep.
underdeveloped characters and plot lines,
Yep.
and then the poor power scaling. Because it
Yep.
was like, I just need to make it bigger, and so I'm gonna add characters
So,
almost out of nowhere.
It's crazy because in a meta sense, it also reaches our 4th point, which would be production issues, because he wasn't allowed to end the story the way he wanted to, so he had to find a way to write himself out of Madara.
Yeah, so there you go.
So
it
it
literally-
really the
that
end
one thing hits all.
exactly the end of Naruto really does tick all 4 of our points. Not to say that because I'm on record saying Naruto is one of my favorite shonen anime of all time, and it is one of my favorite anime of all time. Period. However, that's not to say it does everything perfectly because it truly does not. But to continue with the stereotypes, you always have this one is spurned on by, say, Vegeta and Sasuke. You have the rival character who starts off leagues stronger than your main character, and then eventually they just get relegated to the Lancer archetype, which there's nothing wrong with that archetype in and of itself being a writing device, but when they're underdeveloped and just there for the sake of making the main character look like a badass, it's like, come on, give them some plot development, give them some. And again, Vegeta, I think, is a good example of a Lancer type of character, as is Sasuke, whereas you have someone like Uryu from Bleach, where he's kind of bland, you know?
Who?
The Quincy dude.
Who?
Okay, Max.
Are you talking about the guy with the glasses?
I'm not capping. I also needed that. I needed the first one.
Yo, word.
Yeah,
I
I
needed
was
the
like,
first two.
yo, because
Yeah.
it was like one of those relevant characters at one point, like, oh, he can go toe to toe with Ichigo, and then slowly but surely, he just
That's
kind of
just-
faded.
Exactly.
I remember Chad more than I do him, just because Chad is that guy.
I understand. They really did write Chad better than they wrote Uryu. They really did. You're absolutely correct. And then they kept writing rival characters for Ichigo, so it relegated Uryu to a place where it was like, why are you even in this show?
You know,
when it
until the
comes
manga
to-
later on.
Yeah. So I think, you guys have any specific?
Oh yeah, I have some specific stereotypes.
Okay.
One of them that is kind of almost ruining one of my favorite characters in One Piece is the perv archetype.
Oh. Okay.
And the perv archetype it gets old, especially for long running shonens, because it's like now this character is like, cause they have to try to keep it, they gotta keep the jokes fresh for that archetype.
Yeah.
So they have to do things like that almost ruin the character. So like recently in One Piece, Sanji used his abilities of invisibility to spy on women, and it's like it was funny when it was like
When
just
he's, I think when he's flirting, it's okay, but like when you're
yeah,
being,
flirting is okay, yeah, but
Exactly,
he was straight up like peeping tomming, and it's like
Yeah,
like
that's not
like
cool.
dude, come on, dude, like
that's actually the reason people hate Mineta from My Hero.
yeah, which is perfectly
Yeah, and again, he's
acceptable.
portrayed as one of the smartest kids in the class, which makes him even less likable because normally like the perv archetype is like really dumb too, and it's like they'll do anything for love. But like you have character, there are instances of that done well, which I think Sanji is handled well most of the time.
Yeah, in the beginning, he was handled very well because he was like the flirtatious, kind of suave, but like obviously like I'm doing this for the right reasons. But
And
like
they-
now it's like almost extended. It's like
yeah, and
oh,
they
now
wrote him in a way where like women did like him, but like when
Yeah.
they write it purely comical, it's like the woman's not even interested at all.
yeah. I mean, recently he's in his last couple arcs, he's had women that are interested in him, but in the manga at least. But like his perv actions are getting almost worse because it's no longer like he's simping for them almost in a wholesome way. It's like this
Getting
dude's a weirdo.
creepy. Real
Yeah,
fast.
now he's kind
Yeah.
of a creep.
Yeah,
Like
it's the same way how I feel sometimes a little bit about Master Roshi in Dragon Ball Z. I loved him like in Dragon Ball. Like he was this wise master with the pervy side. Now like he's just been relegated to the role of
Perverted old man.
Exactly. And like he was a master martial artist.
And
Like
the thing
Goku's
is,
trainer.
he still is, but you never see that side of him anymore. So now he's
Yeah.
relegated to just completely comic relief.
Yeah, because when I saw him in the Universe Tournament arc or whatever it was called, like I forgot how strong this man actually is over here boxing people from
So-
like other universes.
I do want to point out that some of these stereotypes can be done well. Like I said before, for the rival character, you have like Vegeta and Sasuke. But on the other end of the spectrum, for the perv character, you have the
Jiraiya. Sasuke,
kind of
kinda?
sometimes.
Most of the time,
What-
Jiraiya is done well.
What I meant specifically was actually the monk from Inuyasha.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was portrayed as overly perverted at first, and then he fell in love, and then he was only perverted with the girl who he was in love with, and
Okay, that's pretty.
and it was used as as a joke because like when things got serious, he got serious, but if he got injured, he would use it as an excuse to like, oh, I can see your butt, oh, I can see your boobs, and like she'd punch him, she's like, he's fine, and it was like kind of their thing, and like it like the way they grew to be like in a relationship, like it worked for me. Like it made sense, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I hate is when they just like do it for the sake of doing it. It's the same thing when I have an issue with like when they force romances in shonen that make absolutely no
Oh
sense to
yeah,
me.
the romance stereotype of like the main character and then the heroine, but they can never be, they can't be together right now for
And then
whatever
they keep like
reason, so they have
teasing
to
this
wait
like
till the
on,
end of the series.
and they keep going on again, off again for like a good
like the
50 to
relationship is just
100.
stuck on pause until the end of the series. They
Exactly.
just
You just
find
Yo,
sit
ways to
here.
pause the relationship for the end of the series.
yo, do you remember that show about the guy with no magic power, but he was a master swordsman? And it was like Rakudo something,
Black
like, and
Clover?
he
No.
he got paired with his roommate who was one of the strongest magical energy people. And she walks in on him getting butt ass naked or whatever, and like so they have a fight. He beats her, and then he enters this tournament where he has to go up against increasingly stronger people with magic powers.
I remember exactly which one you're
They
talking
start.
about.
I like that show solely because they actually started dating in episode 5, and then there were still 7 other episodes for their relationship to get, like more developed.
Developed.
And I felt like stakes in their relationship as it kept going too,
And they didn't kiss until like episode 10.
which is fine. It's totally fine.
Exactly.
Like it's to
Like
be out of a relationship though. And that's what's most
correct.
important.
Exactly. And one show that I hate for stereotypes, but I like for the romance stereotype, is actually the first 12 episodes of Sword Art Online. At least they got together. And actually, it's funny because the next topic is underdeveloped characters and plots. And speaking of Sword Art Online, underdeveloped characters and plots. Kirito is not the Black Swordsman. I repeat, Kirito is not the Black Swordsman. They
With-
made him like this super guts, but they made him like this super edgy character for the sake of super edgy characters, and they relegated Azuna to like the badass female sidekick, and then they relegated all of his harem people to like their and then they had comic relief black guy, and then they
And
had
Clyde.
the otaku. I was just about to get to Clyde the otaku. They literally relegated all of these characters who could have been interesting because they had a huge cast in Sword Art Online. They still do. And they, unless your name is Kirito or whoever is the main supporting character, you get no development in that show.
I felt like Clyde was so underused. Like he would have been a great character later on.
You guys have any specifics like of underdeveloped characters or plot lines?
Oh, okay, yeah.
One of the
wanna think? I'm sorry.
underdeveloped, yeah, I was gonna go underdeveloped characters. I'm gonna go back to Dragon Ball Z. I'm gonna go back to the well, perhaps of underdeveloped characters. Almost everybody in the Universal Tournament arc, like from the other universes, like there were so many interesting characters they just did not touch on from all the other universes. Like you got all these like robot people from like the one universe that were pretty cool. You get the fairy people who are doing the transformations.
Well,
and they
okay,
got
so
blown up.
I do think it's important to note that not every character can be developed.
I
But
get that, but there were so
mean-
many characters there that could have been developed or given more to
And-
the story, and they
and-
just didn't.
And they did. Like the guy with the beard from universe. What universe was Jiren from?
I don't know.
Whatever universe that was. So the guy with the beard, he was like, they were like, oh, he's a god of destruction candidate, and they told his backstory. Jiren, they told his backstory. The rabbit dude, they touched on his backstory. Hit, they touched on his backstory. The Frieza clone, they touched on his backstory. The Saiyans, they kind of touched on theirs. So they had development. It just wasn't deep. But that's also
just
because
wasn't
they
good.
weren't the main cast. That I think it was just fumbled. Whereas if we go back to Bleach, you have Uryu. He
Who?
was in this show. He was in this manga rather for almost 500 and some chapters, and we found out small snippets about him.
Pause.
Where-
Are you sure this character existed?
I promise.
Yo, I am not sure he did. I am there. Like I remember fighting the creepy doctor.
I think it's
Oh,
very.
speaking of stereotypes and Uryu.
That's just anyone with glasses. If you once you get the shine on your glasses,
That's
you're
one
a
of the
badass.
great stereotypes of shonen. I've actually thought of some undeveloped characters.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, in the show, I guess you could think of Naruto side characters because they
Oh.
started off with such a great cast of characters that everyone wanted to see grow, and then they just kind of get forgotten slowly.
Okay.
So it's like, I mean, it could be with the production, the fact that it is a weekly show. So I mean, it is a weekly manga, so it can only be you can only expand upon so much, and the story that Kishi wanted to tell just didn't have room for those characters. You could spit it off that way, but it's such a waste, It's such a
I
waste because
you know, since you say that, I think the biggest waste of a potentially great side character is Rock Lee.
Oh my God, so much potential there.
Past part one, Rock Lee gets a filler arc. That's it. In the manga, he gets actually nothing.
yeah, that
Literally,
is
literally nothing. He gets.
R.I.P.
I think he gets like a 2-panel fight. No, no, no. Because the first thing we see Team 10 do in Shippuden is get captured by Kisame so that guy can fight Kisame. And that's a water clone. So they get subdued by a water clone. And then in the war, they fight the 7 Ninja Swordsmen alongside Kakashi and Sakura. But Kakashi and Sakura do most of the work. And then Guy beats one of the swordsmen and then goes to help Naruto. So Rock Lee actually does nothing. Um, I think
Yeah.
he is. I think he's getting some pretty good character moments in Boruto. I'm not gonna lie, and I know a lot of people hate Boruto, but for like small character moments that give you some insight into like him as an adult and who he is as a character, it's doing pretty good things. And I don't mean like combat wise because they haven't touched on that at all really. Um, like Kishi or not Kishi, whoever's writing Boruto right now. Rock Lee is fully bald. He wears a wig now. Yeah, they did him dirty, but like it's funny.
Yeah, they really did.
Like they did him dirty, but like it's funny. Like, but that's a
You never
character moment.
respected them.
That's something memorable. And the reason why people even thought to look it up is because in the Boruto movie, he does like this move, and his hair looks like it comes off, or like almost comes off. And people are like, "Is Rock Lee wearing a hairpiece?" Turns out he did an interview. He's like, "Yeah, it's a wig." That's funny,
That is
And
ridiculous.
yeah,
That
and
voice.
I think in
It's the
Naruto,
Saitama. It's all that training, dude. You
yeah,
can only be
I think
bald when you're bald. He's reached
another
Saitama
person,
level.
another person is Shino Aburame, the bug guy from Naruto. In Naruto,
Oh
he
yeah.
got no development, but as a teacher in Boruto, he's getting excellent levels of development. I think a lot of characters are getting sides of them that we never thought we would be able to see, especially because they're a little bit older than us now, but we grew up with them, and like I think it was a crime for them to be underdeveloped in the sense that like these kids about our age are out here and we know almost nothing about them, but like we met them when we were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I guess I think that's just a problem with all long running shonens like that because it's they create likable characters and then the plot almost forces these characters to not evolve as much as the MC and stuff. And
Well, yeah,
and it's just honestly it's not that big of a deal, but it hurts.
it does. It does.
It doesn't completely break a show. Like Naruto was still Shippuden was still good, while focusing on Naruto and Sasuke. But
And
it'd be nice.
I am glad that he went the route of focusing on Sasuke as well because Sasuke could have very easily been a completely underdeveloped character.
Yeah,
Like
but
with
he wasn't. He was great.
yeah,
So
because the way Shippuden was structured, it was a Naruto arc, a Sasuke arc, a Naruto arc, a Sasuke arc. And then like, once the anime came out, like it was Naruto arc filler, Sasuke arc filler, Naruto arc filler,
filler,
And
filler,
Sasuke,
filler,
filler.
I think a third of
Naruto.
Naruto. I think a big problem with Naruto is a big problem with
I mean,
long running anime.
that's gonna be in production.
It will. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess from there we can move on
I mean,
to.
well, I have one plot line
Go ahead. Yes.
that might. I mean, you could tell me if it's underdeveloped. I'm actually just curious because it's
Is
it's
it
in the
Fairy Tail?
anime.
Is it Fairy
No,
Tail?
no. It's My Hero Academia.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's the there was like wasn't there a traitor plot line?
Yeah. And there
One of
still
the-
is.
Okay, there still is
It hasn't
because
yet
I'm
completed
reading
yet.
the manga and I'm like, dude, you're like that could be the traitor. Like, Among Us is coming out.
Yeah.
Among Us
There's-
is very popular right now, and I'm like, dude, one of these teachers could be the imposter and no one's talking about it at
Or
all.
the student.
If you're caught, well, the issue is they're in a
Or
battle
student.
right now during the war arc.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's been busy. They've been busy
Yeah.
this entire time, but it's like it's not even brought up at all. I'm like,
Yeah.
Like,
It might be
I feel like
soon.
the
Who
characters
knows?
themselves forgot about it.
All right.
So,
So moving on to the next point that our next talking point, if you will, would be poor power scaling. And I know Max has one that he's been pretty vocal about this whole episode. So I'm gonna go ahead and let him take it
I'm
for
gonna
poor
hit
power scaling.
like the one thing that will always first thing I'm gonna say about it is the one thing I always hate about power scaling is when you just have a character that's a main character is so overpowered, you have to keep making even stronger villains in order to make it seem like it's a threat to him. And the one anime that has fallen into this trap 100% and no one can argue otherwise is Hunter. I'm kidding. Dragon Ball Z.
Yo, bruh,
yo,
bruh, I,
you broke my ankle there. I'm not gonna cap.
yo, son, I almost punched my laptop.
Yeah, anyway, Dragon Ball Z keeps falling into this trap ever since Dragon Ball first started, because it started out as a martial arts, basic fighting anime. Then they introduced the Kamehameha, which was cool. It was great. And then slowly but surely, Vegeta and his crew roll up. And now the planet's at stake. We're like, planet's at stake, we gotta protect the planet, obviously. Goku bodies Vegeta.
I didn't think that like Nappa was like crazy stronger than like Piccolo, like or
No,
like
he wasn't, but
Raditz.
Vegeta was
Yeah,
strong,
yeah.
crazy strong. But anyway, Vegeta could blow up the planet. You know what? But Goku bodied him. He went flying home. All
I
right.
feel like once they said that sentence, like I can destroy the planet, I think that's where things got kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because
It
like I
did.
think it would have been one thing if he was like I'm gonna destroy the city, or like if he beat Goku and then was able to go destroy a few cities and then Goku was able to stop him before
that
he
would have been
destroyed
fine.
the world. Like if it was like a process that took time, that would be
Yeah.
one thing. I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because
Anyway,
go ahead, go ahead.
to finish up my point though, what happened is we slowly keep progressing. We get to the point where, okay, all of a sudden planet Namek, a bigger planet, is in danger of being destroyed by Frieza, and he becomes immortal. Then we go through Cell, Boo, all that, but it's all the same song and dance though, where you just think he's getting stronger and stronger until we literally get to the point where it's like, all right, the entire universe is at the line. We invited the Universe King to come watch this fight, by the way. First
Yeah.
of all, Universe King, what? Second of all, the universe is at stake, and they just keep getting bigger and bigger, and to the point where I'm like, where are we gonna go? The strongest character.
Where I understand where your grief is, but I think a good summary would be to just the fact that the only stakes that Dragon Ball has, or
Yeah.
the only tension is in its stakes and not its characters.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the problem with Dragon Ball Z's power scaling, where it's like they think that in order for the story to be interesting, bigger, not deeper. You know.
I also think a big part of the problem is that since Piccolo, Piccolo said he would just kill everyone. Since
Reasonable.
since the Saiyan saga, every villain's threat has been to destroy the world, and no one's done it. They can do it, but no one has.
Exactly. That's like my one issue, like overall though, because the power scaling just got so like ridiculous. It's like, okay, what do we gotta worry about? And also goes to the same theme. Super strong. All right, cannon fodder character, go get your ass whooped. All right, Goku, go whoop his ass. Like
you know what
every time.
a lot of manga been doing that faked it, like My Hero Academia and One Piece are good mangas that almost fix that power scaling, where they show the peak or most of what peak. Yeah, they show the ceiling, and then now we have to get to that ceiling instead of just. And
So
then obviously they can surpass the ceiling, but it's clear that no one's gonna be, Luffy's not gonna be destroying universes anytime.
So
soon.
like
Same
similar
thing
to like
Deku.
so for what you an example of what you're talking about would be like Luffy versus Katakuri. They have similar devil fruit, and so they show what Luffy can be at his peak, and Deku with All Might, they show what he can be at his peak.
Well, I guess for Luffy it would be like Whitebeard and Shanks and Kaido and Big Mom, and the Pirate King himself. You know what we hear the Pirate King can do. So those would be the ceilings for him.
Yeah.
Those
But I meant like his ability wise. Because a lot of what makes those characters dangerous is their charisma and their ability to draw people in. But again, I don't want to get too off on positives, but I think an anime that handles power scaling exceptionally well is Hunter x
Shonen.
Hunter.
Yeah. Oh,
Shonen,
Hunter.
sorry,
Yes. Yeah.
is Hunter x Hunter because most of the matchups are based on skill. Where if once you find out someone's Nen ability, that can be the difference between them losing and like if I know yours but you don't know mine,
Then
that
you've lost.
exactly
Then that's
that
like 80%
that
of the
bit
battle.
of exactly that bit of information is the
Yeah,
difference
they
between you
literally
dying
have
and
to keep their abilities secret in the current arc. Like everyone's trying to keep their ability secret. You don't want
say
to
too
use it.
much yet. I'm still.
not
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Yeah, but like
I'm not.
I've recently just started Hunter x Hunter, and you guys are right. Like the fact that there's so much technique and skill. I'm like at the tower arc, I guess, where they're fighting for the on the floors or whatever, and it's just there's nothing. Nobody being over. Actually, Gone is over there smacking people off arenas every single second. But
That's only in the low matches though.
I know, but what I'm saying is like in the high level matches, like it's not just somebody overpowering somebody else. It's actually strategizing, trying to figure out what they can do, how I can outsmart them, how I can break them mentally and make them cry, and then kill them.
Yeah,
And
a great quote that Morel says is once you start talking about who has more Nen, is when is you losing the battle because it doesn't matter.
But I think another one. Again, I'm gonna bring it back to Naruto, even though it's an abuser of both ends of this. Like I said a couple weeks back, Team 10 versus the Immortal Duo was one of the most technical fights I've ever seen. They were just using straight strategy, and even Hidan and Kakuzu. Hidan, who we think of as like one of the dumbest characters. But not to dwell on that fight too much. Sasuke versus Deidara. Sasuke had every
Sasuke versus
step
Deidara was-
of that until the very end. Every step of that fight was completely planned out, and Sasuke was bodying Deidara.
Yeah, and if
Go ahead.
and if I can touch on like terms on fighting and technical prowess, a show that I really like that does is God of High School, like which only has like 12 episodes out right now. But what I really like about it is it's very martial arts oriented anime with I know the power of gods and yada yada. But what I like
That's not really the case though. They do kind of go into like I'm
I know.
overpowered beat down strategy like immediately.
eventually like I guess
It's
later on.
immediate.
I'm talking about the first like 10 episodes, but I like the initially
It's
did.
in episode 2 when he's fighting against the prisoner guy.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway, I like how I just like their martial arts prowess and fighting and combat. I like animes that
Oh, that's
require
not
technique.
Shonen.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It is?
Yeah,
I thought it was a
shonen.
webtoon.
It's that's the thing. It's a shonen anime though.
Yeah, it's literally hits all the beats of a shonen anime.
Okay,
It literally does. You got the protagonist happy-go-lucky.
I thought it was like Avatar: The Last Airbender situation or some shit.
No.
There's more.
And another anime I think to go into why Naruto is an offender of this as well is things like the Bijou Bomb, the Susanoo, and like the like the
The
Odama.
Ten Tails.
Yeah, the Odama Rasengan even. Like once he started like perfecting the Rasengan, like things started getting out of hand. Like and once the Mangekyo Sharingan unlocked the ability of the Susanoo, it was like if you don't have one, you're fodder. Like
So everybody but Naruto and Sasuke.
like I think the only techniques that even like hold a candle are like Rasengan.
I think it was when Susanoo came out because Susanoo started with the it's almost like the energy beings in Korra that it wasn't like you know how Sasuke has his big ass Susanoo and then Naruto has the Nine Tails and then they're fighting in like these I don't want to say robots but it's
Well,
like
they have Power Ranger syndrome where they're like just in a giant mecha after the other person goes. You realize in the tuning exams, right? I just want to say this real quick and then you can finish your point and then we can move on. In the tuning exams, why did Naruto decide, let me trade blows with Neji? No, all he had to do was summon Gamabunta and Neji was dead. Like, why wait for a giant threat to appear to summon your giant threat? Just go, boom! Now you got a giant. You win.
Yeah, exactly. And then now the fight's not as interesting. Although I will say that the Toad fights with the rhinos was pretty good. All
right. So our last point is going to be production issues. Now these are mostly speculative with a few instances where
it's clear.
Yeah, where it's very clear. The first one I want to talk about is Bleach specifically, and the exact production issue I'm speaking about is being forced to continue, right? So I think if anyone who's watched or read Bleach has a pretty clear image of the ending of Bleach right after Ichigo beat Aizen. And then you go, wait a second, there was more to that.
There
And
was a
you're like,
continuation.
why? And the thing I find is a lot of companies decide, you know what, this story is really popular right now. This is the peak of its popularity. We should continue to make money on this as long as possible. And it really puts people like Kubo into a corner. Kubo's the writer of Bleach, for anyone who doesn't know. So it really put him in a corner where he had to just keep writing more and more characters, more and more ass-pulls, more and more progression.
More
And
powers, abilities, more plot lines.
exactly, and they started getting less and less succinct and focused as it went on. And I think that's really problematic because when the Eisen arc finished, it was great. I thought Bleach had a satisfying ending. I would rather a show end in a satisfying way than continue too long and end up
And
like Game of Thrones.
And you know where how that could be fixed almost. I don't want to say easily, but it is a problem with production. But there's a way you can go around that, which is what Naruto and One Piece did, which they gave their character a specific goal. So it's like now that that character's reached that goal, you can't force me to write anymore because from the beginning I've been telling people what that
Well,
goal is.
see,
So.
that's the thing. Naruto's goal was Hokage, obviously, but his other goal was recognition of the people of the village. Naruto has suffered through this same production issue as well. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, well, I think all of them do. All One Piece, they all suffer through this. All
yeah,
long-running shonen.
and Naruto
Dragon
specific.
Ball Z too, with its all the way
Yeah,
to Boo. You could
I don't,
tell Toriyama didn't even want to write.
after Cell, after Frieza, they keep having that issue. I don't even want to talk about them in this.
Yeah,
Um, But specifically Naruto, there is a very clear point where it was apparent that Naruto should have been over. Um, if you saw that portion where Naruto is being thrown in the air and hailed as a hero after the pain fight, that's
that could have been the ending.
And Sakura runs up and hugs him, and
And Sasuke kills Itachi.
well, that happened after. I think that was going to be the ending, and then Naruto and Sasuke were going to link up and fight. But that had like anyone who reads the Pain arc has this vibe of finality there. Like it feels like Naruto is over and he's achieved one of his many goals. Um, and I do think it's problematic that they kind of were forced to go into the whole war arc. Although the war arc is about a third of the entire running time of Naruto. Um, that being said, you can tell the war arc was pretty sloppy. You know, like there were continuations, ass pulls,
Filler.
characters.
Plot
Well,
lines that should have been ended
yeah,
are now resurfacing for some reason.
yeah. They brought back Hayate Gigo from the Chunin exams to
Yeah.
fight some random fodder Chunin number 3. I will say the one filler character I do like from the war arc is Pakura, the one with the scorch style, which is a combination of flame and air. And what her ability does is it heats up the moisture inside other people's bodies. And I think that is one of the most deadly, underutilized abilities in all of Naruto.
It's one of the most
But
creative abilities.
That sounds
Yeah.
real good. That
Yeah,
sounds
it's
like bloodbending.
Yeah.
but it's a Kekkei Genkai, so like I really like that. But anyway, besides that, and it got really apparent that he didn't know how to end the show when he had Black Zetsu kill Madara.
Madara was such a great villain. Like he didn't need to go any further than Madara.
And the issue exactly, I think if the Sage of the
he
Six
didn't
Paths,
want to explore on the lore, which is
And-
good. It's always
and
good.
that's
But like
fine.
he didn't need Kaguya for that.
He didn't. He really did not.
Or
And
he
I
could have
think
waited for Boruto for that.
He could have left the Sage of the Six Paths where he was, give Naruto and Sasuke the power, now have them defeat Madara in a creative way, right? Because Madara wasn't going down to anything. Matter of fact, they even gave the 5 Kage their own opening just so that they could get soloed for 5 episodes. And the thing about that is, if Naruto and Sasuke were able to team up with Guy and Kakashi, and even Obito, fine, and beat Madara, and then Obito dies, Kakashi dies, Guy dies. Now you have the new generation. You know, you have Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura, and then Sasuke and Naruto still go to settle their fight, and the issue is still solved. You still get to that point, But adding Kaguya into the mix just shows that the show was forced to go on, and that he really had writer's block for how to get rid of Madara. Like really,
yeah.
really, there is no character in the show.
Yeah, I'm sure he said that in an interview where he doesn't
did.
know how he's gonna defeat Madara.
He said every character has a weakness except Madara. But also,
No, and it's actually interesting you bring up that because One Piece is almost having the same issue where Oda in an interview said that he doesn't know how Luffy's gonna beat Kaido, and it's like, is Luffy really gonna have to just punch Kaido? I mean, we understand that there's ways to, but it's like, although I will give it this, that in Kaido's introduction, he is explicitly stated to have been defeated 7 times, so it's not. It almost seems like he's unbeatable because of the hype, but in the history he has been beaten.
Isn't Shanks one of the people that have beaten him?
I don't think we don't explicitly know.
Oh, it's just hinted at.
We don't know.
Okay,
we don't know.
Oh yeah. Also, speaking of One Piece, though, make sure to check out Diego's video on One Piece. There we go. Boom. I got you, Diego.
Thanks, bro.
But one of the things, though, like that frustrates me just about production issues and everything is when they put so much filler in, I lose the idea of the story. And like one of the biggest examples of this is an anime I also love and that you love is Naruto. There are so many filler arcs. I don't know what's canon and what's filler anymore at some point.
You know what's crazy?
You can almost tell what's filler, though.
I sometimes can't, man. Like, just sometimes I get so confused.
It's crazy because some of the filler stuff resurfaces in Boruto, and the thing about that is Boruto's anime is 100% canon, and so is the manga.
That just blew my mind. What? That makes no sense.
No. So they release monthly, right? And the way they're writing it is both of them they happen in the same verse. It's just the manga is like later. And the thing about that is Boruto has no filler technically because the source material is the anime. So by them incorporating some of the filler stuff from Naruto, that inadvertently makes that canon as well. It's really weird. But
and then that confuses people, which is a production issue. It's
and I agree with the filler point because of the fact that websites like Filler Find exist. There's literally a website that you type in whatever show you're trying to watch or whatever anime you're trying to watch. Type in the name and it will give you like a timeline bar with episode numbers. And it will tell you exactly which episodes to skip if you want to avoid all of the filler.
Oh, yeah. No. You want to hear something? You think that's crazy? You want to hear something crazier? There is a website called One Piece, right? Where because of One Piece's horrible production run in the anime, because it has to happen weekly, and some chapters are literally, for an anime episode, it's typical that at least like 2 or 3 chapters are animated per episode.
Sometimes it's 4, like My Hero does 4 a lot.
Yeah, which is so good, but that's for seasonal anime. But because One Piece, for some reason, Toei's not going to make it seasonal, and they make it run weekly, One Piece, on record, has episodes that have less content than 1 chapter of the manga. That's ridiculous. That pacing, it's filler within the episode. It's like looking at a wall for like 20 seconds, and then character reactions for like 30 seconds, and then it's just ridiculous how they do that, and it destroys the experience.
Yeah, and I think the main issue where this all comes from, though, it all stems from, is popularity of the shonen genre to begin with, and like that's
it's strict deadlines. Yeah, it's strict
sums it up. Like
strict deadlines, because then they lose, because again they say time is money and production value. You know, they just want to keep it as relevant and as quick as possible. And if they get the more money they can make doing that, the better.
Yeah. I think what My Hero Academia is doing should be almost because My Hero Academia's anime is gorgeous. It's amazing. So I think going forward, every single long-running shonen should be seasonal, just like My Hero Academia. I wish they could do that for One Piece, for Naruto, because think about how many filler there are in My Hero Academia. Barely any, you know?
Yeah.
And it's all...
The only issue I have with My Hero is that is a very bold move on their part because of the fact that is not a tried and true way of getting anime produced, right?
Seasonal is. but not shonen.
No. I mean like long running shows, right?
Yeah.
What I mean by that is they're trying to keep their most popular anime as relevant as possible. And if you take off 8 months out of the year to just drop episodes, it's less relevant. So you got to keep people engaged somehow. My Hero just decided we're one of the most popular manga, so we can try this, and then
We
they
can
did
afford, yeah.
And it's
exactly.
worked.
But
it's
something
worked.
like Attack on Titan couldn't really do that. Like
It hasn't survived.
now they can. Now they can. I know it's more popular now, and even though I don't like it, I recognize other people do. But they have a seasonal release, but they almost didn't. Remember the
Yeah.
amount of time it took between
Yeah.
season 1 and
Yeah,
season
and,
2?
and they have to switch studios.
Yep.
They've had to switch studios and stuff. And yeah, the production for Attack on Titan, although it is a great anime production wise, production when it means like animation and audio wise, it does fall short from not having a scheduled
Release date.
how would you say this, a punctual scheduled release date, you know?
Yeah.
They always have to delay it, and then that loses hype and that loses interest.
Yep. All right. If you guys have enjoyed this video, leave a like and a comment down below, and go ahead and subscribe to our channel. I've been Devin.
I'm Diego.
And I've been Max.
Join us next week for another episode of Burrito Banter, and go check out Diego's solo video of Breakfast Burrito of 5 ways One Piece has changed his life.
It's not as cheesy as it sounds.
Have a good day, guys.